In this video, we're going to talk about Roman numerals. So the first thing you need to know is the letters and the numbers that relate to them. I is equivalent to 1, V corresponds to 5, X is equal to 10, and L represents 50, C is 100, think of a century, which is 100 years, D equals 500, and finally M is 1000. A millennium represents 1000 years. Now, let's work on some practice problems. So let's say if I gave you this number, I. What number does that correspond to? If you have 3 i's, it's basically add in 1 3 times. So this corresponds to 3. Now what about VII? What is that equal to? So V corresponds to 5, and I is 1. So this is 5 plus 1 plus 1. So this is equal to 7. So based on those two examples, try these two. Convert these Roman numerals into numbers, XVII and LXV. Feel free to pause the video. X is equal to 10, V is 5, and I is 1. So we have 10 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. 10 plus 5 is 15, 1 plus 1 is 2, so this adds up to 17. So XVII is equivalent to 17. Now for the next example, L, we know it's 50, X is 10, V is 5. So 50 plus 10 is 60, 60 plus 5 is 65. So that's it for those two examples. Now let's try 2 more, but let's use large numbers. So let's say we have CLVII and also CCLXXVI. So go ahead and convert those two Roman numerals into numbers. So C is 100, L represents 50, V is 5, and I is 1. So we have 100 plus 50, that's 150, and then 5 plus 1 plus 1 is 7. So this turns out to be 157. Now what about the second example? Go ahead and try that one. So we have C, which is 100, plus another C, and then plus L, which is 50, plus 2X. So X and X is 10 and 10, V is 5, and then I is 1. So 100 plus 100 is 200, and then 50 plus 10 plus 10, that's 70. 5 plus 1 is 6, so this adds up to 276. Now what is the difference between the values of these two Roman numerals? So what do you think they equal? Are they the same? They both contain a V and an I. So we know V stands for 5, I stands for 1. The only difference is the order in which the letters are written. So does the order matter? Let's find out. VI stands for 6. V plus I, or 5 plus 1, is equal to 6. Now what you need to know is that when you're arranging Roman numerals, if you're going from a big number to a small number, what you need to do is you need to add. Now, if you're going from a small number to a big number, then you need to subtract. I ran out of space there. Now, you don't want to say 1 minus 5, because that's going to give you a negative number. So you don't want to subtract it that way. You want to subtract the big number by the small number. So it's going to be 5 minus 1, which is 4. So you need to know that IV is equal to 4, whereas the VI is equal to 6. Now go ahead and try these two examples, XI and IX. So X is 10, I is 1. Are we adding or are we subtracting? Well, we're going from a big number to a small number. So therefore, we need to add. So this is going to be 10 plus 1, which is 11. Now I is 1, x is 10. So this time we're going from a small number to a big number. So we need to subtract, but we're going to subtract it this way. 10 minus 1 is 9. So ix is 9, xi is 11. So go ahead and try these two, xc and cx. Feel free to pause the video. So x is 10, c is 100. So we're going from a small number to a large number. Therefore, we need to subtract. So this is going to be 100 minus 10, which is 90. Now for the other one, it's 100 and then 10. So we're going from a big to a small number. Therefore, we need to add. So this is going to be 110. So hopefully this gave you a good idea of when you need to add compared to when you need to subtract. So let's try some harder examples. Go ahead and convert the following Roman numeral into a number. So we have an x, which is 10, c represents 100, v represents 5, I represents 1. So notice that here the numbers are increasing, and then here it's decreasing. So here it's not in descendant order, which means we need to subtract those numbers. So let's focus on xc. xc represents 100 minus 10, which is 90. So this whole thing is 90. So we have 90 and then plus 5 plus 1. So these numbers are in descendant order, which means we need to add them. So this is equal to 96. Now let's go ahead and try these two examples, DC IX and also CD XL IV. So feel free to pause the video and try those two problems. So we know that D represents 500, C is 100, I is 1, X is 10. So going from 500 to 100 to 1, it's in descendant order, which is what it should be, so we need to add. 500 plus 100 is 600. Now looking at the last two, notice that it's in ascendant order. It's going up. It's going from a small number to a big number. So therefore, we need to subtract. So 10 minus 1 is 9. So this is going to be 600 plus 9, which is 609. So DCIX represents that number. Now let's try this example. C is 100, D is 500, X is 10, L is 50, I is 1, and V is 5. Looking at the first two numbers, notice that we're going from a small number to a big number. So therefore, subtraction is what we got to use. So this is going to be 500 minus 100, and that's 400. Now the situation is the same for the next two. We're going from a small number to a big number. And so we got to subtract 50 by 10, which is 40. And for the last two, we can see the same situation. So it's going to be 5 minus 1, which is 4. 400 plus 40 plus 4 is equal to 444. And so that is the value of CDXLIV.